Pepita Redhair. Pepita Redhair was a proud member of the Navajo Nation and a woman who enjoyed art and skateboarding when she suddenly vanished in 2020. A student at the University of New Mexico, Pepita spent her time working at a Hot Topic store in Albuquerque and was aiming to one day become a teacher or an engineer. Her uncharacteristic disappearance has left her family with endless questions and no answers. On March 24, 2020, 27-year-old Pepita left her mother's residence in Crown Point to see her partner, Nicholas Kay, who was living in Albuquerque. At some point in the afternoon, she met up again with her mother, Anita. They had lunch together at McDonald's, and Anita dropped her daughter off once more at Nicholas's before driving to her own home. She thought nothing of it as she waved Pepita off and told her goodbye. She had no idea this would be the last time she would see her daughter. According to Nicholas, the pair went out for drinks on the evening of March 26th, 2 days after she was last seen by her mother. While they were out, they met up with another man whose identity has not been made public. Nicholas told investigators that he and Pepita got into an argument that night at a party they were attending, and that the last time he saw her was when she walked out of the house where the party was being held. The residence is located in northeast Albuquerque. While this was the last time Nicholas saw his girlfriend, it was not the last time he heard from her. He reportedly received a text from Pepita the following day, which explained she was with another man. Nicholas believes that this is the same man the pair met up with at the party, and this is the last time that anyone heard from Pepita. The text message, however, has not been publicly confirmed by the police. A missing persons report for Pepita was filed by her mother, Anita, on March 28th, 4 days after she had last seen her daughter. Over the last few days, she'd attempted to call and text Pepita, but had heard nothing back, sparking her concern, which eventually escalated to alarm. 2 days after filing the missing persons report, Anita received a text message from her daughter's phone. The text explained that they had purchased the mobile phone from someone, indicating the device had been stolen. Anita recalled, "Friday the 27th, I tried calling her. I tried texting her. My intuition right away told me something was wrong. I tried on Monday the 30th again. I tried texting her, but that's when her phone was stolen." Frustratingly, the police were initially incredibly unhelpful as Anita filed the reports. The Albuquerque Police Department explained that as Pepita was an adult, she was able to go wherever she wanted and didn't have to report to her mother if she didn't want to. They also added that Anita would need to work with the Crown Point Navajo Police Department instead of the Albuquerque PD because Pepita was from their jurisdiction, despite the fact that the 27-year-old had been living with Nicholas in Albuquerque when she vanished. Anita also claimed that the department considered her daughter a drunk and believed she was homeless, and therefore didn't take the case seriously. While Pepita frequently traveled between her family's home in Crown Point and her partner's in Albuquerque, she officially lived with Nicholas, had all of her belongings there, and had been residing with him for 3 years. Nicholas, for his part, didn't report Pepita missing until April 19th, almost an entire month after her disappearance. It is unclear why he didn't contact the authorities sooner, but a possible motive came to light when Albuquerque PD stated that there was a domestic history with the boyfriend. They added that they were checking into it. More disturbingly still, Pepita's sister, Shelda, alleged that her sister, quote, is a domestic violence victim and was beaten just days before she vanished. While she did not explicitly state who beat her, the implication is very clear. Their mother, Anita, also believes Nicholas was abusive towards the 27-year-old. Nicholas has reportedly stopped cooperating with investigators. Albuquerque PD noted that the case had gone cold shortly after Pepita was reported missing, but the department was working on following up with new leads. In October of 2021, Anita, alongside friends and family members, held a rally in Albuquerque to raise awareness for her daughter's disappearance. Another was held in June of 2022. Sadly, Pepita's father passed away in 2021, without knowing what happened to his daughter. Pepita's case is still unsolved, and has been labeled as cold by authorities. She was last seen by her family on March 24, 2020, as she was dropped off at her boyfriend's home in Albuquerque. Notably, her official date of disappearance is listed as March 27, 2020. Pepita is described as a Native American woman with brown hair and brown eyes. She has 2 beauty marks on her chin, stands at 5'1", and weighed around 141 pounds when she was last seen. She also has several tattoos, including a dinosaur on her right forearm, a koi fish on her left forearm, a moon with lightning on her left leg, and a butterfly on one of her shoulders, as well as her surname, Redhair, on her body. Jean A. Johnson. 70-year-old Jean A. Johnson was last seen on May 27, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. in Captain, New Mexico. She had spent her afternoon caring for a friend's dog at her residence on Towie Road while the friend was away from home on a trip. At some point that day, Jean messaged her daughter, Heidi, sending a photo of herself with the dog. This was the last time that anyone heard from her. Jean didn't speak to Heidi the following day, which was odd considering the pair often spoke multiple times each day, nor did she return the dog back to her friend's residence as they'd planned. A further day passed before Heidi decided to investigate what was happening. She went to her mother's home to check if she was okay. Upon her arrival, she discovered that Jean's driveway gate was locked. Her car, parked in the driveway, was locked too. Her handbag and phone could be seen inside the vehicle. Turning to her mother's home, Heidi noticed that the front door was ajar, but when she stepped inside, nothing was out of place. There was no trace of Jean inside the house, but her friend's dog was still there. The canine had several accidents as a result of not being let outside. Heidi recalled, "Everything looked normal, except the dog she was watching had some accidents. She would never have just left him there long enough for that to happen. My mother was very clean and kept things clean. And also, she just loved that dog." Strangely, Jean's handgun, a .357 pistol, was the only thing missing from the house. The 70-year-old used it for protection against intruders and wildlife, as she lived in a remote location where mountain lions were known to sometimes wander near houses. While the missing gun had initially prompted law enforcement to consider the possibility that Jean had taken her own life, it was turned in to the police 2 months after her disappearance by an individual who has not been publicly identified. This led the authorities to rule out the suicide theory. Investigators carried out a thorough search of Jean's 10-acre property, which involved using a helicopter, drones, and scent dogs, but no clues as to her whereabouts were recovered. According to Heidi, Jean was occasionally forgetful, but had no history of wandering off. She was also not known to have any enemies. She lived a simple and quiet life, where she enjoyed working in her garden and spending time with her family and friends. She lived alone and had not entered a relationship since her husband's death in 2012. Heidi recalled, she had met someone, but then would say, "He's not your father," adding, "They were so in love." Jean always wore a pendant around her neck, which contained her late husband's ashes. Lincoln County Sheriff Robert Shepard told NBC that Jean's disappearance is a pretty difficult case. He later noted, "This isn't a typical investigation for us. When it's a missing person, by this time they're either found somewhere at a family member's house or maybe in a hospital somewhere." Heidi grew so concerned by the lack of answers in her mother's case that she contacted psychics, who told her she's buried not too far off the road, but we have no idea where. Heidi makes regular searches for her mother, using horses and ATVs to help cover more ground. But still, there has been no trace of the 70-year-old. 5 months after her disappearance, investigators stated that they were still pursuing evidence, and that while they have no physical evidence which indicated that Jean was harmed or taken, they suspect that something criminal occurred. At one point, they also noted that they were organizing search warrants, but it's unclear what or who they were investigating, and what the outcome of their inquiry was. There has been virtually no movement in the case since 2019. 70-year-old Jean A. Johnson was last seen in Captain on May 27, 2019. She is described as a white woman with graying brown hair and green eyes. She stands at 5'6" and weighed 130 pounds when she was last seen. Jean also has had a mastectomy on her left breast, has previously fractured one of her big toes, and has pierced ears. It is unknown what she was wearing when she went missing, but she is known to religiously wear her silver wedding band with 3 diamonds and a clear glass pendant containing her late husband's ashes.